Funding for this program provided in part by the AT&T Foundation. AT&T, your world delivered.
Your mom is right now being put through the ringer for this. And I'm ready to go to the district attorney on your mom because you don't go to school. So if you don't want your mother to go to jail for not sending you to school, then you too, as smart as you are, clean it up.
School was nothing to me. Nobody ever took the time out to show me how it relates to the real world.
The state, once known for leading the nation's graduation rate, is now failing.
California leads the nation in dropouts, and that's something that we are not proud of.
Today what we're doing is we're checking up on some kids that are habitual truants. Is it that you don't understand the work? It's too hard,
I get
or
it.
you just
I get A's and stuff, but...
Find out what the community and the state are doing to track down...
He knows what's going on. He's just not going through the process.
...and turn around dropouts.
Come on, let's show some enthusiasm.
A student who drops out of school doesn't affect just one person, it affects an entire community. Did you know 1 out of 4 students in California quits school, and more than 75,000 students in grades 9 through 12 dropped out during the 2007-2008 school year? Dropouts also cost California more than $1 billion each year. Hi, I'm Rob Stewart, and in High School Dropouts, you will see how communities, school districts, and parents are working together to keep students in the classroom.
1:15, just for information, it'd be 10 a.m. For the most part, when we do home visits, the parents are the ones that have called, and they're requesting assistance because they cannot get their child, son or daughter, to go into school.
It's 8:30 on a Tuesday morning. Classes have just begun at Stagg High School in Stockton, and the cops are on patrol.
It always amazes me that the kids that have been expelled from school can't make it to school on time. They understand when school lets out, and they're always on time to meet their friends after school.
This officer's assignment: get kids back in school. Today, Officer Redfern is teaming up with the Stockton Unified School District's Child Welfare and Attendance Division.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Ms. Rodriguez from Stagg High School.
Together, they're going door to door on a mission to get kids to class.
And you're also at the point right now where you're looking at being cited, okay? And that's only going to complicate your matters more.
This is just one way Stockton Unified is working with the state to track down students who haven't shown up for class. And it's working.
How you doing today, sir?
In this Stockton apartment, Officer Redfern finds an 8th grader sleeping on the couch.
Your dad knows, what's going on. And
he's already missed several days of school.
10:15. You think you can get up right now real quick and dress and go for at least half a day? What's left of the school?
What?
Do you think you can get up and get dressed
rest for
and
school?
go to school at least for half a day?
We usually do home visits when we have a teacher that's concerned or any staff that's concerned. We have to at least do 3 attempts by phone to get a hold of the parent or another family member that can give us information about the student.
We were hoping that you would refer to counseling through Loud Community or some kind of counseling where the parents are going to have to go and...
Back on campus, there's another fight to keep students in school.
So if you don't want your mother to go to jail for not sending you to school, then you too, as smart as you are, clean it up. You missed 25 first periods, 24 second periods, 22 third periods, and 20 fourth periods. So it's not just not getting up on time.
It's me not wanting to go to school.
Students who are excessively absent, truant or tardy, end up here.
When you don't go to school, where are you, hon?
Mostly at the house.
It's mandatory for parents and students to face a panel known as SARB, or School Attendance and Review Board.
You were gone over the weekend, the 14th, 15th,
Counselors,
16th
teachers,
weekend,
probation officers, and child welfare and attendants ask the students directly, why are you not in school?
How do you go from being okay at Hamilton to not doing too well in high school? What went wrong?
Honestly, I don't even know.
Students are given one last chance to turn around poor attendance. They have 3 months to prove they will attend class. Otherwise, they face severe consequences.
Prosecution isn't very often, but for more serious offenders, parents that have been through the system more than one time, the district attorney will review the case.
This is a community problem. This is not a police problem, it's not the school district problem, it's not the teacher's problem, it's not just the parent's problem. All of us have a stake in this, every one of us.
You all remember this headline? This was our reality in October 2007.
School leaders say Stockton Unified School District was one of California's worst districts for dropouts, with 54% of its students quitting.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will never happen again, ever.
By tracking students more closely, attendance is turning around at Stockton Unified. The dropout rate dropped to less than 18% just 1 year later.
We finally took ownership and responsibility of that number and said it's our fault those kids are pushed out and dropping out of school. What are we going to do about it? We're the only ones that can change it.
And changing it starts at the top. Now education leaders are tracking kids even closer through the Student Identifier System, also known as CalPads.
Today, we assign students a number. So we are now tracking students, not just year to year, but we're going to track them from one school to another school. I think it's fair to say a lot of students just ceased attending school in 9th grade. That's not happening today, because we're holding our system, we're holding our schools accountable.
And maybe this report will help you.
Data alone isn't enough. Experts like Russell Rumberger believe it's a good start, but our schools need a lot more attention.
Personally, I think the state data system, the way it's now designed, is not even sufficient, because right now the only data it includes is administrative data, which is data that schools already collect. So there's actually a lot of work that still could be done.
State Senator Gloria Romero agreed. Romero co-authored SB 651 with Darrell Steinberg, president of the California State Senate. It was signed into law and requires a detailed report from the State Department of Education for every school in California.
This is a bill that said we're tired of hearing the casualties of dropouts in California. We want not an autopsy report, we want a diagnostic manual. Give us a diagnostic manual that begins to lay out what we need to do and when we need to do it and how often we need to do it in order to combat this issue once and for all.
It's the middle of a weekday afternoon, and these students just got caught skipping school. Truancy is often seen as a precursor to dropping out and criminal activity. 2006 statistics show a spike in crimes like burglary and vandalism within a half-mile of schools.
The criminal costs are actually sizable, not so much just in terms of law enforcement and incarceration stuff, but the losses to the community.
So what happens to a truant student?
First address we're going to is location on Telegraph.
In the past, getting caught meant the scare that goes along with a trip in a police car, then most likely a stay in detention. But educators like Marisa Wilson have learned when a student skips, it's sometimes a symptom of a deeper problem.
I think truancy is not truancy. There usually is an underlying reason that the kid's not making it to school.
Today, if a student gets picked up for truancy in Sacramento, they come here to the attendance center. There are 3 centers in Sacramento, operated through a partnership between the Sacramento City and Natomas school districts, the City of Sacramento, and the Sacramento Police Department.
Our officers, Sac PD, will pick up kids that they see truant, and they'll bring them to our attendance center.
They go through an intake process with one of our staff members who pulls their records and then prepares them to go to see the counselor.
The counselors have a talk with the students. Sometimes they find it's just a first offense and it's a small punishment and back to class. But other times, they uncover something more.
It could be something out of their control that holds them back.
Serious issues vary, from drugs to bullying or gangs. And sometimes the problem's at home.
A lot of students, just in this economy, they're definitely feeling the pressure of the economy. Parents are losing houses, losing jobs, so the kids definitely feel that pressure and stress. And they bring all that to school with them.
The more we can teach adolescents about how to regulate emotions, how to communicate effectively, how to handle stress, how to be mindful in this moment right now, I believe the more successful they're going to be to navigate those challenges.
What's unique about the attendance centers is they're intervening right at the time in these students' lives when they're probably at the highest risk of dropping out.
We monitor their attendance ongoing, for months until they graduate or until the end of the school year.
If you go there and you feel like nobody likes you, maybe you get harassed when you're walking down the hall, the teacher ignores you or calls on you when you're not really prepared to answer, you're not going to want to go back day after day. Who would?
They make you feel like, welcome. They don't make you feel bad about why you're here.
A lot of children, when they go to an adult, they get a reaction or a lecture or a scolding or a punishment, and so they turn to their peers, and their peers don't always have better social skills than they do.
But even with their success, each year the attendance centers are put on the chopping block when it comes to funding.
The grant funds for 1 year at a time, so every year we have to reapply again for the grant. They build these relationships with the counselor, and then the counselor is removed from us.
Tim is an attendance center success story. He recently went to the city council to explain why the centers should continue to be funded.
I was having some difficulties with my stepfather at home, and they brought me to the attendance center for cutting classes. It was difficult for me to focus on school when things were going on at home. I did finish the school year with at least a 2.3. Right now I'm pulling a 3.6 GPA. I'm able to cope with things a lot better than I was before.
Tim, awesome. Thanks for sharing your story, and I think we should give Tim a round of applause as well. Thanks, Tim.
Tim's speech helped secure funding for the rest of the year. His story is just part of what's convincing people the program is working.
There for us to talk and, just to do homework or, just to help us out with anything.
From the minute I open the door in the morning until I go home, they come by and they want to keep us up to date of what's going on with them, or they want to tell us something special that happened to them.
Because having somebody there and just showing that they care and spending time with you means a lot.
No, sweetie, we don't. We ran out.
For me, the satisfaction is the smile, that sparkle in their eye that they're succeeding. Hey, I can do this.
We only can go to 9 once. That's all we can have.
Oh.
To fully understand what's behind our state's dropout crisis, consider that a huge number of California's school children face some incredibly dire circumstances. Angela Hassel is the executive director of the Mustard Seed School in Sacramento.
28, 29.
No, we're going to do 10. So
it's hard being a homeless child and not having that predictability of staying at the same school for an entire school year. Typically these kids see 3, 4, 5 schools in a given school year. We're an emergency school for homeless children, so while families are homeless, their kids can attend school here. I think by keeping kids in school for even 1 day, I think that helps them not get turned off by school.
The National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth estimates more than 200,000 of the state students are considered homeless, and those numbers don't reflect the mortgage crisis.
When you might not have a roof over your head, a different place every night, when you have parents that are feeling the stress, that's felt by students.
At the Mustard Seed School, the mission is to ease some of the academic and social challenges that come with being homeless while struggling to get an education.
They know that when they come into the classroom, they're going to be welcomed and be nurtured and given activities that are school appropriate and engaging.
I'm smiling. I have some I forgot to show you.
They might not know where they're sleeping at night, but there's a sense of predictability about the school day here.
And then you have these.
It becomes a source of stability for them.
For homeless students, the first big challenge is simply getting to school.
We have 2 school vans that go out each morning and pick up kids, whether that's at motels, at shelters, if they're staying with a family friend.
From the moment a student first comes through the doors at Mustard Seed, the staff immediately works on establishing a relationship with them.
School is the only sense of continuity and consistency in these children's lives. I try to instill in them every day that, I believe in them and I believe in their abilities and how smart they are and, their ability to be able to graduate from high school and go on to college.
Along with trying to provide stability, the Mustard Seed School also sees its role as kind of an educational gap filler.
We have a student resource specialist who, each time a new student comes in, she will give them some form of assessment. That kind of gives us a pretty clear academic picture of each student that comes in. So then we can see where the gaps are in their education.
37, 38, 39. I was right.
Some of the children that enter the 1st grade have never been to school before. So sometimes I have to start from that angle. And then when I fill in as many holes as possible, when they move on to another school, they're not as far behind as perhaps they may have been if they didn't come to Mustard Seed.
With the average stay being just 4 weeks, a major goal at Mustard Seed is to help get homeless students re-enrolled into public school. And they hope provide a stepping stone to graduation.
Once they're gone and enrolled back into public school, we try to maintain those connections, but sometimes that falls away, and so we don't always see what happens after they leave here. But the idea is that we've given them hope and happy memories and a chance to learn in a welcoming environment while they're homeless.
There are states, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Florida, 3 states around the country that are looking at 3rd grade reading scores and projecting how many prisons they're going to need to build.
70% of inmates in the California prison system today did not have a high school diploma. And for the juvenile system, we know that it costs about $1 billion a year to incarcerate.
And these inmates, 1 out of 5 of them don't read above 3rd grade.
Had I gotten my high school diploma when I was out in society and going to school and doing what I needed, I probably wouldn't end up in prison. I can pretty much guarantee that because of the social circles that I ran around with.
If I'd have stayed in school, I wouldn't have been exposed to the streets and all the negativity in the streets, and I think I would have been better off going to school.
School was nothing to me. Nobody ever took the time out to show me how it relates to the real world. I never knew how to call on somebody for help. And so school to me was one big party.
I dropped out in my 12th grade, I was 18. And then you start looking to your future and you really do need these things, and this program here actually prepares you for the outside when you do go out there. You already have your GED or you have vocational skills or a trade or something you're learning here, and you go out there and you're ready for what's coming up next, instead of just going out there with nothing.
A lot of these inmates get their GED or whatever academic achievement they get, not for themselves, but for their children. Their children have gotten to the point now where they may be at risk for moving into the same direction that they themselves were when they were young.
Right now in California prisons, they're downsizing in education. and they're downsizing and rehabilitation, right? And we're also facing a release of many thousands of people back to the society. Guys that go through these programs are less likely to reoffend. I think it's kind of backwards that we cut education at a time when we need it so badly.
Somebody told me once, and they shouldn't have told me this, that school's not for everybody. And I had took that at heart as a young student, and I just went with all the bad.
It took a long time for Joshua Sims to finally realize what he could accomplish in school.
Now I know that this future is bright for me.
Joshua just earned his GED through the Job Corps. In the process, he and his classmates have proved something to themselves and their families.
I've never done anything to make them proud, you know? And I'm just glad I could put a smile on their face and actually say I achieved something.
Job Corps is a federally funded program through the U.S. Department of Labor. And in many ways, it offers students who've dropped out a last chance at an education.
Job Corps is a career training vocational facility that works with young adults 16 to 24. They can come in, have the opportunity to obtain their GED or high school diploma.
At the Job Corps campus in Sacramento, there are examples of newly learned skills. The cement masonry class built this bridge in Koi Pond. The landscaping class put in the nearby grass. And the heavy equipment class is busy building a new courtyard. Character development and exposing students to trade skills are also becoming commonplace in public schools, especially continuation schools.
We need to be able to create opportunities for students to be successful. And I think a lot of them have not been successful in a traditional environment and they become frustrated.
Students that come to a continuation high school are not bad or horrible kids. They are children who have fallen through the cracks in the comprehensive high school education level.
I like the colors on that.
That was the case for Courtney, a student at Daler Continuation High School.
I used to take care of my parents. I took care of them from starting when I was about age like 11, 12, and then they passed away in December of 2006. My dad passed away December 1st of 2006, and then my mom passed away December 11th of 2006.
They were a long time ago, that's for sure.
What was it for? While they were alive, I really didn't care about school, but I pushed myself like to where I am now, so like they can be proud of me.
Courtney believes the smaller school setting of Daler and the connection she's made with teachers like Elvira Ford are big reasons why she'll be graduating this spring.
Good job. I like the colors.
When you have a small school, you have time to spend with each student individually when they need it. Each individual teacher sits down with the students, talks about the credits they have earned, how they can achieve more credit in the next quarter, and forms a plan with these students about graduation, and that is our goal, is graduation.
If I need help with a problem in life or just someone to talk to, like outside my family, she's there for that. That's my favorite teacher here. She's just, yeah, I really like her. I'm gonna miss her after I graduate.
But for all the individual successes, many wonder if the sheer number of continuation schools is a sign of a bigger problem.
Every high school district in California has a continuation high school.
There's an argument if kids could be reached earlier, a lot of alternative schools wouldn't be needed.
California actually has more non-traditional high schools than regular traditional high schools. You know, we have about 1,000 comprehensive high schools in this state, and we have about 1,500 non-traditional.
We know that dropouts don't start in the 12th grade or 11th grade or 10th or 9th. We know that the dropout starts very early on. And so if we are going to curb the dropout problem, we know that we've got to start very early.
More and more effort is being put into identifying potential dropouts early. Emily Ballesteros is the program coordinator of the Dropout Prevention Specialist program at Sacramento State.
Graduates of our program learn to identify potential dropouts, identify why students leave the schools, and the program also gives them the tools and skills necessary to go back to their schools and implement these strategies.
Students have to have a reason to come to school and be successful. I think they need to be engaged and connected to something in the school, whether it's a program, it's an individual teacher, it's a coach. It might even be one of the classified personnel that maybe they get along real well with the campus supervisor, and that's the person who encourages the student to hang in there, do well, get your assignments done. So that connection is a critical piece.
Success is happening in small pockets throughout the state, but many experts argue systemic change is needed before the dropout picture will improve statewide.
The state needs to rethink, I think, what it's done in the past, especially with respect to dropouts. Different districts are doing things and individual schools are flourishing, but the system, it's the idea that the state has to look at the system as a whole. That's what's lacking, I think, right now.
If we all work together, we can help keep students in school. If you see a student at risk of dropping out, don't wait, get help. There are plenty of programs to help students who are at risk of dropping out. For more information, just log on to kvie.org/viewfinder. I'm Rob Stewart, and we thank you for joining us.
To order a DVD copy of this program, call 888-814-3923 or visit kvie.org/viewfinder.
Funding for this program provided in part by the AT&T Foundation. AT&T, your world delivered. Funding for this program provided in part by independent benefit supporters and the James and Susan McClatchy Fund.